Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Happy New Year. Last day of 2020. I'm sure there's plenty of folks watching who are pretty happy to see this year get the hell out, right? Unfortunately, we don't know if 2021 is going to be any better. However, as crappy a year as 2020 has been, I think 2020 has been a terrific year for Sea of Tranquility. So now I know I've heard from many of you over the previous 7, 8, 9, 10 months who have talked a lot about how a lot of the content, a lot of the videos we've brought you here on the channel has really helped you get through this year. And I'm very happy to hear that. We got a lot of new visitors, a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new fans who have jumped on board the Sea of Tranquility Express this year in 2020. And, understand that being able to produce this content is as much therapeutic for me as it is for you. I think it kind of goes both ways. I mean, again, this is my passion. So being able to create content talking about bands and music I love is something that makes me very happy. And I love doing this. And the fact that that is kind of coming across to all you guys, and you guys are finding plenty of things of interest here on the channel, regardless of where your entry point was. If you came on board late last year with the Classic Live Album Wars, or maybe favorite album of the year thing that we ran for 55 straight days, right? Maybe you came on board then. Maybe it's a rant that caught your eye and a recommendation. Maybe you've been a viewer for 4, 5, 6 years. Who knows? Maybe you're a long-time reader of the Sea of Tranquility webzine, and you follow us here. Whatever the reason that you're here, thank you for coming. All right, I want to thank everybody for all their views, all their comments, all the camaraderie that I see amongst all of you, the love for my many guest co-hosts and guest stars who we've had on the channel. I mean, I wish I could name them all. I love them all. They're such a part of the Sea of Tranquility family. But most importantly, I think we're all one big family, right? So about 2 weeks ago, I asked everybody, as soon as we kind of hit that 50,000 subscriber mark, and we're already well past 51,000 now, hitting close to 52, just a short amount of time. I asked everybody to name some of your favorite Sea of Tranquility shows. Okay, I asked everybody to list 5. Some people listed 2. Some people listed 10. All sorts of things. Some people listed kind of like a show format name. Some people listed specific episodes. So what I've been doing is I've been going through all of the comments from that particular video where I asked that question and put together a spreadsheet trying to figure out, what are the most popular videos and shows amongst you, the viewers. And I have some results, okay? I have some results. I will say some of them were not surprising at all. Some were. Some that I thought would be, ranked very, very high and mentioned most often weren't. And others, I was like, wow, pretty cool, the love for that particular video, right? So what I've done is I've got a bunch of different categories, and then at the end I've got the most popularly mentioned shows, okay? So I wanted to kind of do this almost like, by categories. So here, and again, this has nothing to do with me. This is based on your comments, your votes, the viewers. So we're going to start off here. Favorite show themes. So these are recurring shows, whether it's a weekly show we do, or a show that we do, maybe every couple of weeks or a couple times a month, or a show that we did that lasted for, like a couple of months, like a show that was never meant to be forever show, but we ran for quite a long period of time. So not surprisingly, I guess, the favorite, the one show theme, recurring show that was kind of voted on by you guys the most was the Hudson Valley Squares, our Monday night show. I gotta say, from a show that kind of started just as a couple of us doing something weekly, talking about whatever, it's now, a show of 8 folks from the Hudson Valley talking about music, talking about ourselves. We do all sorts of different topics, and I think we have such a wide variety of different characters on the show, and everybody brings something different to the table, okay? And I think all different ages, all different likes and dislikes, and I think it has become like a really cool thing that we're doing each and every Monday night, and so many people watch that show. It has become like the most consistently watched program we have here on Sea of Tranquility. And, it's a lot of the folks on the show are making names for themselves just by being on the show, by guesting on other shows we do, and the other stuff that they do outside of Sea of Tranquility. So, whether you come to that show because you love Steve Keeler, Ryan Scow, Nick Franco, Lynn Versace, Sidney Taylor, Butch Jones, Chris Allo, all together, we love being together. We love bringing you content every week, but they're all great people, each and every one of them, and I'm so happy to have them on the show. So that was the number one. Number two, also kind of not surprising, because I think this particular show theme, this recurring show that we did earlier this year, came at the right time. Right place, right time. I always talk about that. Right place, right time. When I decided to do, and again, I think it was like a comment or two from a couple of you who wanted something like this, the favorite album of the year show that ran for 55 straight days. And it was, we started with 1965. We went all the way to 2019. And basically what I did was I picked my favorite release from that year and a runner-up. And then I asked you all to do the same. And it just became this really, really popular show that everybody tuned into. And we got so many new subscribers during that time period. Because again, COVID was new, running rampant. People didn't know what to do. People are working from home. People lost their jobs, have all this time on their hands, on furlough, and just looking for something to latch onto to take their minds away from what was going on out in the real world. And I think, again, for me, because, every day I had to work. I had to go and look up all the releases from that year. Pick a favorite. It's just as difficult for me as it was for you. And I had to make sure every single day I had that planned, right? Some days I would do, at night I would do a couple days ahead of time, whatever. And then sometimes I would change my mind the morning of. But it became a really cool thing. And, our subscriber numbers really started to jump from that particular program, to the point where when we did that final episode, right, we did 2019, and the next day I did kind of like a recap. I think a lot of us kind of felt like, wow, that was like a lot of fun. And now what's next, right? What's next? So I'm gonna kind of think of something kind of similar to that, not necessarily right now, but over the next couple months, something that will take us through a few months, all right, where we can do something like that, where it's kind of cool, everybody can contribute, but makes everybody think, that sort of thing. So stay tuned for more information on that. That'll be upcoming. So that was the number two. Number three, quite frankly, I thought this might be the number one, but number three, still pretty high. The Ranking the Albums series, or Ranking the Studio Albums as we call them, but for some bands we do studio and live albums in separate shows, but they're just called the Ranking the Album shows. That also has been a major, major factor in the success of the channel this year. Right there, you're looking at the top three shows as voted by you guys: Hudson Valley Squares, Favorite Album of the Year, and Ranking the Albums. Those three shows all debuted this year and became kind of a phenomenon. The Ranking the Album shows, it's funny how, in 2019, we started the top 10 song shows, and those were pretty popular, but nothing like the Ranking the Album shows. I think, people love songs, but I think the people who watch this channel love albums. They love to talk about discographies by specific bands. And, what's great is that, I've done a lot of them on my own, but I've done a lot of them, with various people, whether it be Martin Popoff, the great Martin Popoff, or Butch Jones, or Chris Allo, or Jeff Young, or whoever it might have been who joined on these various shows that we did this year with the Ranking the Album shows. I get a kick at them because, again, it's fun for me too, because I then have to go back, and all my guests, co-hosts, get to go back, and you got to go re-listen to all these again, even if it's a band you're really, really familiar with, right? And you got to say, all right, so got to put this in some kind of order. But the most important thing is you're talking about the albums. To me, it's not about exactly where they sit on the ranking. It's more about the fact that you're talking about each and every album and what is so great about them, or maybe not so great. So that those Ranking the Album shows, in a weird way, have almost like taken place of a lot of the history of shows that I used to do, which I will get back to. I'm going to do some of those. But for the Ranking the Album shows, because you're talking about the history of the band and their recorded output. So it's kind of like the two shows are kind of redundant. So, but, we'll see how that kind of plays out. So that was number 3. Number 4 was the Top 10 Song Show, which, again, not as popular as some of these other ones, but still there's plenty of life. Still people request them, so that comes in at number 4. And coming in at number 5 was the Classic Live Album War Show, which started last early fall, and we finished, I believe, a year ago today. And we announced the winner, which was Strangers in the Night by UFO. So, that was something, because we had, the whole, we had all these 100-something albums, and they each went against each other. The winner would move on to the next round, and it's like, and you had to do all this stuff on the spreadsheet. It got kind of crazy. And then, for those of you who might remember, like 3/4 of the way through, I realized that we were kind of at an odd number, and I had to do like a special kind of one-off, bring two back that were voted out and all this kind of stuff, but it was great. And every day people were like, on the edge of their seats, like, who won, Pete? And I had to go tally up the votes from YouTube and Facebook, and so it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And again, another instance of, you got to kind of rethink about all those live albums you like, right? And why you like them, and do you like this one better than that one? Because you wanted to crown a champion, just like any kind of competition. So that was a lot of fun. So that's your top 5 recurring shows, or favorite theme shows. So number 1, Hudson Valley Squares. Number 2, favorite album of the year, 65 of 2019. Ranking the albums, number 3. Top 10 songs, number 4. And Classic Live Album War, number 5. Next, the favorite extended episode show themes. So these are a program that we needed a couple episodes to kind of take care of the whole thing, right? So here, this is a mix of all sorts of stuff here. And I think these had a ton of votes, okay? So coming in at number 1 is the History of Black Sabbath 3-part episode. Okay, so of course, co-hosted by none other than Mr. Chris Allo, who I will say, Chris got a lot of love in the comments of the video where I was asking you guys to vote on your stuff. So usually, if it's a show that Chris is on, people watch. So the History of Black Sabbath, again, it was a 3-parter, not originally intended to be a 3-parter. That just kind of worked out that way. We had so much to talk about. We went from, and I think it was probably close to 3 hours in total. I think each episode was about an hour. So that was by far the number 1. Okay. In fact, that was also one of the most voted on shows in this entire exercise we did here. Okay. Number 2, also with Chris Allo, The History of Judas Priest. 2 episodes. Okay, episode 1 and episode 2. That came in at number 2. Coming in at number 3, back to the Hudson Valley Squares, worst concert experiences, right? Or whatever we call that, bad concert experiences. I don't remember if we called it bad or worst. That, I believe, was a 2-episode series with the Hudson Valley Squares, and I believe the Hudson Valley Squares at the time, that was a little early on, so I believe that was Steve Keeler, Nick Franco, Ryan Scow, and Chris Allo, if I'm not mistaken. So that came in at number 3. Coming in at number 4 was I think we did this over over a period of 2 weeks. The shows that I did with Martin Popoff, Bad Album Covers and Top Album Covers series. People love those. Lots of votes for those. Martin and I just talking about really cool bands who have had historically bad album covers, and then really cool bands who have really cool album covers as well. So I kind of lumped them both together. We got about the same amount of votes for both, and that really was one series, meant to be one kind of long series. So I forget how many episodes we did. 5, 4, I don't remember, something like that. So that came in at number 4. And then coming in at number 5, which this is the big surprise for me, because I thought this would be probably the number 1, seeing it is the most viewed video in Sea of Tranquility history, the top prog albums of the 70s show. Or the show, theme of show. So it's top prog albums of the 70s, and then top prog albums of the 70s, the underground, and 2 additional. So with 3 episodes in total, those 3 episodes make up probably about if not close to 1 million thereabouts, total views between the 3 of them. I thought there would be a lot more votes for those. Maybe because they're a little bit older, right? Kind of out of sight, out of mind. But, those are, if you look at the numbers, those are the most watched videos on this channel, historically. So that came in at number 5. So History of Black Sabbath, history of Judas Priest, worst concert experiences, bad album covers, top album covers, and top prog albums of the 70s. They're your 5 extended episode shows that were your favorites. Okay, how about interviews? All right, lot of votes for the various interviews we've done. A lot of them, and I think almost all of them were mentioned. But you got to pick the top ones, right? The most popular, as voted by you guys, Rob Halford from Judas Priest, which we did fairly recently. Number 2, Steve Morse from Deep Purple. Number 3, Simon Phillips, drum legend, producer extraordinaire. Number 4, Walter Trout, blues guitar legend. And number 5, one of the most legendary drummers of all time, Mr. Carmine Appice. Okay, so those were your favorite interviews. Halford, Morse, Phillips, Trout, and Appice. All right, next, favorite ranking the album shows. Okay. Number 1 was also one of the most voted on shows in this entire exercise by you, the viewers. Ranking the albums of Thin Lizzy with Butch Jones and myself. That was, I think it was the number 2 most voted on or mentioned video across all of the hundreds and hundreds of comments that we had on that video where I asked for your feedback. Number 2, I was surprised at this. Number 2, ranking the albums of Marillion with myself and Stephen Reed. A lot of good praise for Stephen Reed, another one of my favorite co-hosts here. Stephen and I go way back. He's been a writer on Sea of Tranquility, the website, for about a decade, and so I love having Stephen on. I love having that. I love that Scottish accent, and he has such a passion for music that just is infectious. And I love having him as a partner here on the channel and a co-captain in the chair. So Marillion, the long episode we did with Marillion was number 2. Number 3. Ranking the studio albums of Black Sabbath. Number 4, ranking the studio albums of Deep Purple. And number 5, ranking the studio albums of Yes. So there you have the top ranking the album shows as voted by you guys. Thin Lizzy, Marillion, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and Yes. All right, next, the favorite top 10 song shows. Number 1, Mr. Jones, Butch Jones once again. We did Gary Moore, top 10 songs. Number 1. Number 2, Thin Lizzy. Number 3, Fleetwood Mac with guest host Jeff Young. Number 4, top 10 songs of Camel. And number 5, top 10 songs of Black Sabbath. So Gary Moore, Thin Lizzy, Fleetwood Mac, Camel, and Black Sabbath. Favorite rant episodes as voted by you guys. Okay. The Hudson Valley Squares, Skeletons in the Closet, our Guilty Pleasures show, came in at number 1. Wasn't even close. Coming in at number 2, my rant on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and what a joke they are. Okay, number 2. Number 3, also another one of the most viewed videos on this channel, bands Pete loves to hate. So if you want to hear me spew about REM and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and all sorts of other bands that I dislike intensely, there you go. There's your one chance to check it out. Number 4, The Death of the Record Store. And number 5, overplayed songs we never need to hear again. So there you have the most voted on rant episodes. Guilty Pleasures, Skeletons in the Closet from the Hudson Valley Squares, why the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a joke, bands Pete loves to hate, The Death of the Record Store, and overplayed songs we never need to hear again. All right, next category. Specialized shows on genres, okay? Coming in at number 1, this one was mentioned quite a few times. Essential Power Metal Albums with Rich Catino and myself. Rich, another fine addition to this channel this year. Coming in at number 2, Favorite Thrash Metal Albums with Mr. Catino once again and Steve Keeler. Number 3, the History of Southern Rock episode that I did probably, late last year, I'm thinking. Sometime last year. Number 4, another recent one, Martin Popoff and myself, favorite Southern Rock albums. We have some Southern Rock fans out there. And number 5, this another very much watched episode on this channel historically, top fusion albums of the 70s. Okay, so essential power metal albums, favorite thrash metal albums, the history of Southern Rock, favorite Southern Rock albums, and top fusion albums of the 70s. All right, next up, in our last category, favorite deep cut dive shows. Deep Cut Dive is a show that we started, I believe, this year. We did quite a few episodes before I started moving into other things. Number 1, this was not close. Another show featuring the great Martin Popoff, Blue Oyster Cult, Deep Cut Dive into the discography, into the songs of Blue Oyster Cult. Number 2, Thin Lizzy. Number 3, Rush with Martin Popoff and Jack Toledano. Number 4, Deep Purple with Jack Toledano. And number 5, Deep Cut Dive into Steely Dan with guest host Jeff Young. All right, so now that we got through all the categories, how about the favorite videos overall? Okay, so what I decided to do here is, instead of doing the multi-part episodes, because like I said, and like I mentioned earlier, by far the History of Black Sabbath episode got the most votes across any of these episodes, but because it's 3 of them, I decided not to include them, but I will tell you those got the most votes, but these are all going to be single episodes, right? So the number 1 most voted on episode, single episode, ranking the albums of Thin Lizzy with Butch Jones and myself. Number 2, ranking the albums of Marillion with Stephen Reed and myself. Number 3, my interview with Rob Halford. Number 4, ranking the albums of Black Sabbath. And number 5, my interview with Steve Morse. So there you have it, everybody. A lot of fun to kind of look at all your comments and kind of try and tabulate all this. And I will tell you it was pretty tedious, but I knew it was going to be. But I think the end result is kind of cool. So there you have some of your favorite moments, some of your favorite videos here on the channel. Right now that we hit that 50,000 subscriber mark a couple weeks ago, will we do this again come, 100,000? Perhaps. We'll see. I'll find a different way to do this. There's got to be an easier way. But I will say a lot of stuff. If your favorite video did not appear in the finals list here, fear not. I mean, so many different episodes were voted on. So, I got all sorts of stuff. Like I said, there were some that I thought would be a little bit higher. But, it's kind of, again, not everybody voted, right? So we've got 50,000 subscribers, but we only got maybe about 600 comments with people putting in their favorites. So if somehow we can capture more in a more organized fashion, that would be ideal for next time. But, I'm sure the people who voted were the people who come here all the damn time, right? So there you have it. So as we kind of do our countdown tonight to 2020, and as we move into 2021, I do want to once again give lots of thanks here. So I'm going to try and remember everybody. If I forget someone, please forgive me. We have a lot of folks who guest on this show regularly. I want to thank the Hudson Valley Squares, Chris Allo, Steve Keeler, Butch Jones, Lynn Versace, Sidney Taylor, Nick Franco, Ryan Scow, okay? Mike Antonelli, Jeff Young, Rich Catino, Jack Toledano, Steve Fleck, Stephen Reed, Simon Bray, Carl Sederholm, John Neudorf, Craig and George Seibert, Elliot Fulham, Brian Slagle. Trying to remember everybody. There's so many people. There's so many people who guest on this show. Oh, who am I forgetting? Who am I forgetting? And I want to thank a lot of the folks who have come on and agreed to be interviewed on here. Steve Morse and Rob Halford and Annie Haslam and Andy Powell and Alex Skolnick and Derek Schulman, Derek Sherinian, Neil Morse. The list goes on and on. It's just so many cool people that have come on here, and the guys from Glass Hammer, and so many. We've interviewed so many people this year, which was a lot of fun for me. So I will tell you, because I know a lot of people ask. So Pete, how is it when you get to talk to your musical heroes? It's pretty humbling. It's pretty humbling, and there are times. I will say, because I've been doing this for so long, I don't really get nervous so much anymore. Although I will say I was pretty nervous before I talked to Rob Halford. That was a big deal for me. But for the most part, it's just having a conversation with a cool person that I look up to. And, like when I had John Patitucci on, I was like, holy cow, I've loved Dream Theater for so long. But man, you just start talking to them, and they're just like you and I. They're no different. which is really, really cool. Carmine Apiece was a blast to talk to. In fact, not only did I talk to him once, we agreed to do 2 interviews, right? That was great. And there's other ones that are upcoming this, in 2021, so lots to look forward to. And also I want to give a shout out to the various viewers who I've invited to come on and do shows here. Dawn the Chaldean, Jamie Laszlo, okay, Rand Kelly, and Anthony Ferraro, and George Lamy. I mean, it's like, and we're gonna have more, right? We're gonna have more, and I know I'm probably forgetting some folks. Who else am I forgetting here? Oh man, Scott Berry. That's right, my most recent one. So we'll be doing that. We'll be continuing to do that in 2021. So I'll be occasionally picking out some of you that we hear from a lot in the comments, and I think you have some stuff to offer us here live on the air. So stay tuned for that coming up next year, and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, this has been a magical year, folks. A magical year on the channel. It's been a sucky year outside, but here on YouTube, on Sea of Tranquility, thanks to all you guys, thanks to all of my co-hosts and guests, this has been a tremendous year. Tremendous year of fun, tremendous year of growth, lots of musical discussion. You guys like the Monsters Den too, which is great. I love doing the Monsters Den. And for all of you who have not subscribed to my other channel, Comic Book Geezers with Wild Bill, I gotta thank my buddy Wild Bill. I know him 35 plus years. And he is my partner in crime over on Comic Book Geezers, show we've been doing now for going on 4 years over there, and also seeing a lot of success over there, and still growing and still building on that. So if you have not subscribed to Comic Book Geezers here on YouTube and you like vintage comic books, please go over there and check us out. We do 2 videos a week. It's a lot of fun. It's often very funny, and we show off the books, we open them up, and so it's a very cool vibe there too. So Sea of Tranquility. We got the second show here called the Monsters Den, and then my other channel, Comic Book Geezers. Not enough hours in the day, folks, and I work a full-time job. It's crazy. It's crazy. So anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. This is me signing off for 2020, and 2021 is right around the corner. Coming tomorrow. So we'll probably see you. I think the next video you'll probably see from me, I believe on the schedule, is Sunday. Hopefully we can make it happen. Rich Catino and I are going to rank the studio albums of Power Metal Legends Stradivarius. Okay, so that's the first video you'll be seeing in 2021, and all sorts of ranking the album shows, and Hudson Valley Squares on Monday night. We got a great show coming up Monday night. Next Tuesday we got another Monsters Den with both Rich Catino and Chris Sallow about zombie films. I mean, all sorts of stuff happening. All sorts of stuff, so stay tuned, guys, and have a safe, happy, and joyous New Year's Eve tonight, and as we move into 2021. God bless all of you. Okay, better days are ahead, people. Better days are ahead. Take care. I love you all. Bye-bye.